have the greatest job in the world, and that's working with dogs.
Best in Show winner is the French Bulldog.
Winston won the National Dog Show. It was amazing. It was exciting. And to have a dog to be #1 dog in this country, you have to have great nutrition. And I always fed Pro Plan. Just like us, when we eat well, we feel good. And I just love that food and what it's done all these years to all the dogs I've bred and all the dogs I've shown.
Welcome to Pure Dog Talk. I am your host, Laura Reeves. And all right, you guys, I am super excited about this. This is another one of those interviews I've been working hard to get set up for you guys. Today, we're going to be talking to Dr. Jason Gagne, is the Director of Program Management at Nestle Purina. And Dr. Gagne is a board-certified nutritionist by trade, and he's going to talk to us about all things to do with pet food and digestion and supplements, and I'm so excited. So thank you, Dr. Jason. I really, really appreciate your time. I appreciate you coming to share your insights with us.
Yeah, good morning, Laura. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here with you and speak with your audience today. I think this is a privilege. This is wonderful. So, as you mentioned, I'm a board-certified veterinary nutritionist by trade. I've been with Purina for about almost 12 years now, working some on the business side and most recently working in the R&D side with some great, brilliant minds. I work globally, and I am the Director of Program Management, which includes cascading of science and helping to substantiate and roll out claims that meet legal and regulatory guidelines around the globe.
That seems like a really big job. So again, super appreciate
it. It's an awesome job. It's an awesome job. Yeah. And I get to collaborate with some great folks.
Absolutely. So talk to us about kind of your theory. You were talking earlier about the ProPlan products, the veterinary diet products, some of that. And you made a statement that I thought was really kind of foundational for what I think about Purina, and that is that every dog deserves to eat well. So say more about that.
Yeah, it's one of our philosophies as an organization that we've even been founded upon. So we're always looking to formulate diets for all dogs, whether that's wellness diets that you find in pet specialty stores, or whether that's the grocery retail stores, or even therapeutic diets that you get from your veterinarian. Mm-hmm. It's one of our philosophies as a company that all dogs deserves to eat well. So no matter what dog, our goal. We want, in terms of gastrointestinal here, GI, digestibility, etc. We're looking to, one of our goals is to create a diet with optimal digestibility, meaning what goes in has a high bioavailability and your pet is getting the most out of that with a little bit left over to pick up in the backyard.
I love that. I live, so I'm saying.
No, we're really purposefully choosing high quality ingredients for their bioavailability, and yes, to meet the essential nutrients of every dog.
Sure.
And while it may cost us a little bit more to formulate and make those diets, it's the right thing to do by the dog.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I was really excited to talk to you about, a couple different things, but I think it's really important, and everybody out there in listener land, I'm not sure even everybody out here understands, Purina is one of the few places that's actually doing feeding trials on their specific food before it's sold to the market. And there's an awful lot of random dog foods out there. But one of the things that I think is so valuable about Purina is this. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I can. That's a great question. It's a great topic. It's one thing to open up the AFCO book, right? The Association of American Feed Control Officials, who set this model bill, as it's termed, and says, hey, you need this much zinc, you need this much selenium, and so forth. And then, pet food company XYZ, whoever that may be, goes ahead and puts that much in, or hopefully a little bit more, to meet those requirements. It's another thing to actually be the company that does these feeding trials. So again, as I mentioned before, we're obtaining these ingredients, we're formulating our diets. We have very tight control over our ingredient specifications and have very high standards for who our suppliers are. But it's another thing to then take that diet that you make and feed it out to a colony of dogs,
Mhm.
and we do that, and we're proud of that actually. It's a great thing, and I will speak in terms of like the welfare of these pets. If there is such a thing as reincarnation, Laura, you want to come back as one of these dogs. I
Right.
know I do. Because they get amazing care from an amazing staff
Mhm.
there. It's just a wonderful experience to work with that group that take care of them. The environmental enrichment,
Mhm.
the care that these dogs get on a daily basis is of the highest standards, and trust me, we surpass um, what we need to do. So beyond that, though, the purpose of doing that and having that colony is to feed these diets,
Right.
because when we do that, we can measure the digestibility of our diets. We can assess the fecal quality and the fecal score, which I think is important to a lot of breeders and sporting enthusiasts, etc. And we can even assess the performance on the diet. Um, and again, like I said, it's not just important to meet the AFCO requirements, but it's more important really to optimize those recommendations for the betterment of the dog.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and we put those diets out there on the market um, after we've assessed. Hey, we put this in the diet. We want to make sure it's actually in the diet. We can analyze the diet itself, but then again, we're analyzing what's going in and coming out of the dog as
Right.
well.
It's
Yeah,
sciencey stuff. It's very cool.
it is. It's pretty awesome. Yeah, yeah, and I'm glad. I'm proud to be a member of that team.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah,
And so one of the things that specifically we wanted to talk about today, and one of my favorite products happens to be one I shout out all the time, Fortiflora. Some of the supplemental pieces that you guys have developed because of the R&D that you're working with,
yeah,
and their success and how you are developing them and all of those kind of things, I think is fascinating.
yeah, yeah. So that goes back to like why do we even have Fortiflora? What is it? It's a
Mhm,
probiotic. It's
mhm,
a it has the ability to connect and modulate the GI microbiome. That gastrointestinal microbiome, if you're not familiar with it, is kind of that ecosystem or that environment that's taking place in the intestines, more specifically the colon or large bowel, as some people call
mhm,
it. But years ago, we used to think that the microbiome, when we discovered it, I guess, was just these bugs sitting in us, and we didn't know what they were doing. As technology has advanced over the years, we've been able to assess it, not just through Purina, but independently through
mhm,
academia, etc. Has been able to assess it and find out, hey, there's not like 1,000 bugs there or 2,000 bugs. It's actually on the order of like a billion to a trillion
wow.
bugs per like gram of feces. Okay, so I mean, it's impressive. And then you got to ask yourself, well, what are they doing?
Mm,
They're actually doing quite a bit. They're helping produce energy for us. They're
mhm,
helping on our metabolism, our digestion, and so forth. Um, and when that seesaw of those good bugs and bad bugs, or potentially pathogenic bugs, as some refer to them, gets out of balance, it's termed a dysbiosis.
mm,
It's kind of like you're out of whack, if you
right.
will, and that could lead to other conditions. We often think about that, or it's secondary in a condition. We
Mhm,
think about that with dogs that have IBD,
right.
inflammatory bowel disease, that is now more termed as part properly as this group of enteropathies or chronic enteropathies.
Okay.
It's not just one problem; it's a kind of a host of problems that lead to chronic enteropathy. But we're able to work with those bugs, and Purina is a company that actually understands this very well. We actually even ladder up to Nestle as
Right.
our parent company out in Switzerland, who's had this amazing gastroenterology center since 1987,
Wow.
and they've been studying this in humans
Mhm,
for many years because they're a human nutrition company.
right.
But when they acquired us in 2001, it really opened the door to all of these 500 scientists plus scientists that we talk about, behaviorists, palatability experts, toxicologists, microbiologists. And so again, I'm one cog in a wheel here, right? It's a team environment, and that's actually like a meeting of the minds, if you will, of what makes our company so special,
Mm.
that we're able to produce products like Fortiflora, which has been around since 1968 in humans.
Mm.
But when we brought it over to the pet food world, we studied it in the target species of use, which is really important in cats and dogs.
Well, I was going to say
And
the
we
human microbiome and dog microbiome are not the same, right?
not at all, actually.
Yeah.
So it's you have some of these companies out there producing probiotics. So yeah, we studied this in a cow. Wow, that's a completely different GI system. Or poultry, very different in the
Right.
avian world, if you will. It's important to actually say, I have studied this probiotic in a dog and then market it as a product for dogs.
Right.
Same thing with cats,
Mhm.
So we have done that when it comes to Fortiflora, and we have shown the GI benefits at firming stool, at
Mm.
helping to increase the beneficial bacteria in the gut, so we can actually optimize that GI microbiome as well. And some probiotics, like Fortiflora, have the ability. This is really neat, and we don't talk about it as often as we should, but have the ability to modulate the immune system.
Right.
70% of your immune system is actually in your gut.
Mhm.
And Fortiflora, as a probiotic, has the ability to work with that immune system and actually prime it systemically, prime it locally within the gut too. So it's a really neat probiotic, and it's actually no wonder it's the number one
Yeah.
recommended probiotic by veterinarians
I
for a
I
reason.
I use it with my puppies, right? Like when they're transitioning from nursing to solid food and before when they go to their new homes so that they can transition to new water and blah, blah, blah. And it's amazing. And it really is a pretty incredible product. The other thing that I wanted to kind of take this and move to like the next level, if you will. I talked a number of years ago to the folks at the Canine Health Foundation, and they were doing some research on the gut brain axis. And so that connection between what's going on in the gut microbiome and not just that systemic ability to fight disease and whatever, but also like mentally. So can you kind of expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, I can. It's really exciting. So again, I feel privileged to be speaking with you here today and to your audience. So this is a great opportunity. So yeah, this is we're kind of when it comes to the industry, we're kind of leaders in
Mm.
microbiome, and we've been studying this in the world of gut for a number of years. We launched Fortiflora in 2006, by the way.
Right, right.
So that's been on the market now 18 years, widely available to folks across the globe. But you got to think this microbiome, it's in there. What else is it doing? It's actually been linked to behavioral issues as well when it goes out of whack, that
Right.
dysbiosis, as you mentioned earlier. So we kind of term this, we have this bucket called gut, right? That's your fortifloras, right?
Right.
That's even your soluble fibers in diets that we
Mhm.
probably should talk about too. But then you have this other bucket called that we kind of refer to as gut plus.
Mm.
So what can I put into a gut that affects other organ systems or behavior, right?
Mm.
Around outside of the gut. And um, we have some brilliant folks, as I mentioned, in R&D who had studied this um, at Nestle in humans,
Mm.
um, and it's actually known as Bifidobacterium longum BL999. That's the strain. It's important to know the strain. And
Okay.
so you got these bugs with these
Makes my
these
eye
these
twitch.
yeah. Like people are like, how do you pronounce that? Or they look at it, they're like, what's that say? But these are, and then people, the microbiologists like to italicize the names,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So it's important to understand that it's not just Bifidobacterium longum. You can make a product today, or I can make a product today, and we can have a Bifidobacterium longum. what's important is to know the strain too.
Mm.
So like Fortiflora is Enterococcus faecium strain SF68. It's important that to know that you're working with that particular strain. So it's kind of like someone's name,
Right.
It's
Right.
like Jason Gagne, is a first and last name. Then you get more specific with your middle name, right?
Right. Right. Right.
So you got to know the full name is my point there when it comes to these bugs. So this one you were just referencing with kind of mental or behavioral,
Right.
we actually did do a study with dogs displaying anxious behaviors
Mm-hmm.
and showed that and paired it with physiologic as
Right.
well. So salivary cortisol,
Mm.
and we also had Holter monitors on them too for heart rate.
Oh,
And
interesting.
we were able to show that by when the dogs were on being supplemented with the BL999,
Mm.
um, they were able to have a decrease in barking, jumping, spinning, and pacing, which were the anxious
Wow.
behaviors that they were displaying, right? Versus when they were not on it, or they were on the placebo. And
Mhm.
it's a placebo. No one knows it's
That's how we know. That's how we know it's science.
Yeah. It was a totally double-blinded study,
Yep.
and so like no one knew ahead of time, so no one's biased.
Mm.
And that's the way we do our studies. It's important to do
Yes.
that. Yeah. So, and it was actually, if you look in the behavior literature, I don't know another nutritionally oriented behavior study besides that one that was pairing the physiologic with the behavioral data to strengthen both of them.
Wow.
And their cortisol came down, their heart rates decreased as well. So it's a pretty awesome study, and Calming Care is that product. It
I
came
was
to
just gonna say
life.
that's common care, right?
Yeah, I want to say we came out with that one in 2019
Yeah.
in the Pure
Yeah.
Natural Plant Vet Supplements line.
Mm-hmm.
It too, it's a supplement. It's widely available.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty interesting, and kind of got us moving from just the gut bucket into the gut plus.
Right.
Bucket. Yeah. Pretty
Very.
impressive stuff for asking.
Yeah. No, that's. I mean, to me, that is. I have not had opportunity to use it, but I have actually had anecdotally people say this is really amazing stuff. It worked on my
Yeah.
dog, so I really wanted to talk about that and kind of how it came to be.
Trupanion is revolutionizing medical insurance for pets by providing the best possible experience to our members. And it's not some space-age dream. It's happening now. We pay your veterinarian directly while you're checking out, and we're the only ones who can, which means you have decisions in seconds, and you don't have to wait for reimbursement. So unlike with other providers, you'll keep more money in your pocket. Ask your veterinarian if Trupanion can pay them directly, because there's pet insurance, and then there's Trupanion.
So talk a little bit more. And again, I don't think people, like I feed ProPlan, sensitive skin and stomach, blah, 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 over the counter, all that kind of stuff. The veterinary diets that are what you're kind of really involved with, talk to us about how you're kind of tweaking things to support kidney health, or like, I don't even know all the things that are there. So,
Right. So I do think it's important though to realize that we're looking at myself, others, of course,
mm,
we're looking at the science that we put into our veterinary diets, ex- extremely specific for those conditions. When pets, unfortunately, they do have conditions, whether that be joint issues, whether that be kidney issues, as you're referencing, or even GI issues. We have therapeutic diets for that. Those are, kind of with the veterinarian. The
right.
veterinarian recommends it. But we're also saying, you know what? Owners today are being more proactive and even preventative. And how do we actually bring that science into
Mm,
ProPlan and even Purina One? And
mm.
that's part of my job. And we're looking at that and how to cascade that, if you will, across those brands. Because again, every pet deserves to eat well, and we want to be ahead of that curve and do what we can to
So give me an
ward off the
example.
possibility of disease.
Give me a for
Uh,
example.
Yeah, so we're actually like, for example, yes, we have prebiotics, which are soluble fibers in our GI diets in a therapeutic sense, right? So if your pet has one of those unfortunate GI enteropathies and they need to be on a prescription diet, we have a wonderful diet called EN, enteric. Not
Right.
kind of obvious there at that point.
Right.
So that the prebiotic is creating a healthier GI microbiome, as we've been talking about.
Mm.
Those prebiotics, we can bring that into ProPlan too.
Right.
And for those pets, they're not, fortunately, they don't have a GI condition, but we can optimize that diet by creating a healthier microbiome ahead of time. And we can bring that into our Purina One diets as well. So no matter the point there is, no matter where you're shopping, whether it be a grocery store or pet specialty, we're there, and we are allowing for this science to be in all of our brands.
Okay.
Yeah.
And talk to me about, there's a couple different things that I wanted to touch on. We've got a little bit of time left. So first, talk to me about, I know there's a new, and I had a sample of it and I need more. There was a new joint supplement, like a chewy kind of put in your dog food. Yeah. Talk to us about what goes into that.
It's a soft chew. So again, the land of supplements is a totally different world than diets.
Yeah.
You got to wear a different hat on that one. From the regulatory aspect, where the ingredients are allowed.
Right.
It's what makes it fun. You kind of get outside your box here and there, but we've been growing as a supplement company for a while now. Again, Fortiflora in 2006. Right. We launched a product called Joint Care, which is a soft chew, last year. It's a glucosamine chondroitin supplement. It also has collagen in it, which, collagen for the precursors there, like glucosamine chondroitin for the cartilage. It has EPA and DHA, which are fatty acids that you find in fish oil. So helping to decrease inflammation. Right. And then it has hyaluronic acid in it as well to help with mobility. So when you're thinking about joints, you're thinking about the cartilage, you're thinking about the inflammation, you're thinking also about the mobility. And we're hitting all of those buckets, if you will, with the Joint Care supplement. We are always innovating and renovating. So, it doesn't stop there, Laura. We're always working with joint. So, we have joint diets as well, whether it be therapeutic, whether it be sensitive skin and stomach, which I'm sure you're very familiar with as well.
Been my kennel for a very long time.
Yeah, it has a high amount of EPA and DHA in it. Great for the joints, great for the hearts, great for the skin. So fish oil, omega-3 fatty acids is an amazing nutrient. Yeah. Right.
Okay, so moving from that one to the thing that we talk about a lot on the podcast. I've had other veterinarians talking about it. The specific diet that it takes to optimize for breeding dogs and what we feed them and all of the nutrient and all of the research that goes into that is something, again, unique to the Purina Nestle situation and, a couple others, but really only a couple. So can you expand on that? Talking to our breeders, what are you looking for in your dog food? What's really critical that those breeding animals, sires and dams, need to have available?
Yeah.
And that's different. No, it's different than a neutered pet in a lot of instances.
It's a totally different world, and I'll go back into the 1950s here, actually, at this point, and I will point out that Purina actually was the first ones to really create the extruded kibble, number one, and then go beyond that and say, we were the ones that created the concept of life stage nutrition. There wasn't really the puppy diet or the kitten diet before us. So again, we've done a lot of great work, pioneering a century of innovations, if you will, since William Danforth founded us in 1894. So we've been at this a long time, is my point. And we've had the good fortune at that point to really study these nutrients and optimize for what makes a great diet for, the sires, the dams, et cetera, even through the gestational period. So yeah, we have diets that are, yes, they're oriented towards all life stages, as people say. And sometimes that gets a bad name. I'm not sure why. I think the internet, has taken over there at times.
Dr.
Marketing is
Google. Oh, Dr.
yeah, Dr.
Google.
Google. Yeah, it's a good thing at times. It's a bad thing at times.
Mm.
Like don't look yourself up on WebMD, for example, right? When you have a problem, go to your doctor.
Hey man,
He or
don't
she is
be
that expert.
banging WebMD. I get through life on that thing.
No. Yeah, and by the way, cook your food. Don't eat the raw food, for you or your pet. But so I would say yes, we've had the good fortune there of actually saying, yeah, we know that there needs to be a higher amount of protein because we have growing bodies that need that tissue accretion. We also need to meet their energy. We have to have a higher amount of fat, but it's not just total fat; it's specific fats, and we've optimized that as well over time. We also know through others and ourselves through our research that, yeah, those omega-3 fatty acids could be really important for cognition and those early stages of learning. Specific fats. We can talk all about medium chain triglycerides and other diets, whether it be for the younger or really for the older for cognitive function as they get older. We have amazing diets there that no one else has when it comes to those older dogs and their cognition.
Right.
But yeah, no, that's and the calcium phosphorus ratios as well, which the industry as a whole is doing. But we've been at this for decades, Laura.
Right.
So we have great diets. I would say ProPlan 30-20 actually makes a wonderful diet for gestational period as well. Yeah.
Yep. Very cool. And so the final thing that we were talking about, and like I said, we could do this for days because I geek out on this.
You're getting going off on these tangents now. I'm talking about cognitions.
I love it.
Triglycerides.
We call that chasing squirrels here
Bright
in my podcast, and we like it.
Yeah, ProPlan Bright Mind. Check it out, folks. That older dog.
Bright Mind. Yeah. Okay. So do Bright Mind. Really.
You know that diet?
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome diet. Yeah. No, the story behind that, we got a brilliant scientist here who's interested in cognition. He's a brilliant mind behind many of our innovations. And, he did a study, 31 beagles, I want to say, over 8 months, and actually showed when you feed them medium chain triglycerides, which is a type of fat.
Right.
That it's able, those dogs had less errors. They, and in fact, had better memory, learning, and trainability than when they did not have the medium chain triglycerides in their diet. So both diets, placebo and the test diet with the medium chain triglycerides, same total amount of fat. We just took out a portion of the fat and inserted that same amount as the medium chain triglycerides. Did the study, had some awesome results, and it is actually the science behind our Bright Mind diet, which is pretty, like I said, it's pretty amazing. Owners actually feel that their dogs really kind of turn around and like all of a sudden they become more lively, and we have this great quality assurance department here, unparalleled. They're always keeping in touch with our Office of Consumer Affairs looking for feedback. Right. And, sometimes you get the quote unquote complaint, which is not a complaint, but people are calling Office of Consumer Affairs and saying, my dog is acting like he's 4 years old again, and he's like a 10-year-old dog. It's like, that's not a problem. That's a great, and they are. They're very thankful. They're very thankful, but it's pretty awesome.
Right. Okay, so final question, and this is one I know you must hear a million times as a veterinary nutritionist. I was taught a gazillion years ago, corn, wheat, and soy can be allergens in your dog food.
Yep.
Speak to us.
I would say yes, they can, but every protein is on the list of allergens, whether some are higher or lower. Actually in dogs, it's going to be corn, beef, and I'm sorry, not corn. Jeez, you're getting me going there, Laura. The number 1, 2, 3 allergens in a dog are going to be beef, chicken, and wheat.
Right.
So,
right.
Laura, you're gonna have to cut that out there. You're gonna have to cut.
You can fix it. You can fix it.
It's gonna be the numbers 1 through 3 are gonna be in dogs are gonna be chicken, beef, and dairy.
Okay, so you're not finding allergens in any of the grains, is what you're saying in your research.
You can have an allergen to grain. You can have an allergen to anything.
Right.
That's the way it is. And 99% of the time when dogs have food allergies, it's a protein.
Right.
So again, every protein's on the list, but to find the dog that's actually allergic to corn, it's pretty darn rare.
Okay.
Corn is actually providing you is a very unique nutrient that's actually providing you protein through the corn, through the gluten meal. It's providing you fat, linoleic acid, which is that omega-6 that's important. It's an essential fatty acid that's important for the skin and coat. And it's actually providing you a starch, which is readily usable energy. And by the way, almost every cell in your body wants glucose, which is that sugar, and that's the starch. So there you go.
There you go.
Corn is actually a really powerful nutrient.
Okay, very good. And
Yeah.
because I just talked to Dr. Annie Veluska yesterday, and as a behaviorist, and she was talking about, again, I think this is something that in nutrition gets really kind of twisted around, the evolution of dogs from canid ancestors. One of the primary differences between dogs and wolves is that dogs have an ability to process starch that wolves don't much. And so that, misconception having triggered an entire world of grain-free diets, can you talk to us about that specific piece?
Yeah, it's kind of, like I said before, marketing is a powerful thing. So good, bad, or ugly, it's a powerful thing. So there's actually not that you're just sitting around pulling out the Journal of Nature. There's Nature, if you're not familiar with it, is one of the.
That's why I call up guys like you to talk on my podcast, man.
Yeah. So we do this at Purina so that you guys don't have to do it, right? You're great at what you do. We're great at what we do, right? But there's actually this article, several articles since then too, but one of them is kind of a sentinel paper from the journal Nature, highly scientific journal. Axelson et al. I forget what year it was, otherwise I tell you, but it actually showed that dogs and wolves are very different at this point, evolutionarily speaking, and that the dogs actually have an upregulation of genes such that they produce proteins that digest starch.
Right.
So dogs are actually omnivores. They're not carnivores. Right. A cat, yeah, they're a true carnivore. We can talk about that another day if you like, but I think we're here to talk about dogs. So dogs, they're omnivores, and they do actually reap the benefits of protein, fat, and yes, carbohydrates.
Right.
So, I've given this talk many times. We used to call it myths and misperceptions, right? And there's always this thing where, I can't feed carbohydrates. You can feed carbohydrates, and you can actually, if you think about it, and you want to start comparing the wolf to the dog there. I don't remember the last time I was out and I saw a marauding pack of pugs waiting to take down that antelope, or that.
We have pugs, and we talk about this. It's an in-house joke. So.
I used to have a pug. She was one of my favorite dogs. But so we've come a long ways, and we've bred them to be what they are, and they're wonderful creatures. But let's not get confused that we're feeding a wolf here, because we're not. They're evolutionarily, they are very different at this point.
Excellent. Yeah. Oh, that is so perfect. Thank you so much.
And it goes along the lines of the byproduct too. Can we just talk about that for a second?
Absolutely.
The word byproduct is this evil name, and it should not be, actually, because byproducts, you and I are eating them too. Whether you've been to different cultures in different countries, etc., you may be eating chicken feet at times. Okay, maybe that's gross to some people, but they can be delicious. But let's bring it a little bit closer. Some people are familiar with haggis. Some people are familiar with some kidney bean soup. Some people are even familiar with sausage. Dare we say? So
I want to know what goes in the sausage.
yeah, and if right. That intestinal lining is maybe that casing that you're eating, right? So and let's not fool ourselves here either. When people are like, the wolf eats meat, the wolf is not just eating meat. Sure, the wolf's eating meat. You and I are eating meat too, okay? And so are our dogs.
Intestines.
Okay? Yes. They are predators taking down their prey, and where do they enter their prey at first? Gross as it may sound, but it's really the soft underbelly that they're going after. There's not a lot of, they got to get through some muscle in the abdomen, but when they get there, you're right, it's the intestines.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? They're not sitting there with their opposable thumbs because they don't have them. They're not cleaning those intestinal linings either. We're going to leave that alone, but you can imagine everything they eat. Okay?
Yeah.
So, but no, seriously, byproducts can be a wonderful thing, and they offer up a variety of nutrients. Livers, yes, vitamin A, D, E, K, copper, zinc, iron. May not, you can hit those essential nutrients really quick with byproducts versus muscle. Right. So there is actually a reason for every ingredient on the label.
Absolutely.
They're not fillers. That annoys me as a nutritionist.
Okay, now you got me. Now you got me going down another squirrel.
Sorry, Laura.
Opportunity. Copper. I've had another nutritionist on talking about how much copper we're seeing, and copper toxicosis in breeds that aren't accustomed to seeing that. Is that something you guys have encountered? And talk me through that.
Yeah, I think veterinary medicine in general has, really seen that over the years. The Bedlington Terrier, I would say, is the poster child there.
Right.
So
when you start seeing it in other breeds, that can be like a baseline nutrition issue. Talk to me about that.
Yeah. So I'm going to put out there at this point that I'm going to start off by saying I don't think we know the answer to that.
Okay.
And, interesting as it may be, but I don't think we know the answer to that. I think there are breeds out there with genetic mutations that may result in being more susceptible to copper hepatopathies. Again, we all know the Bedlington that came out in the 70s, I want to say. And at that point, you do need a copper-restricted diet. However, the AFCO assembled a working group on this. At one point, the FDA got involved and assembled a working group on that as well. Actually, it was more the FDA, not the AFCO. I shouldn't say that. So at this point, the science is not there to say that we need to bring the recommendation down. Maybe others will do that study, and good for them. And if they show that, everybody would follow suit there. But at this point, it is not there. What I would say is that we as a company at Purina, we do follow AFCO recommendations, but we also optimize within ourselves because, again, we've been doing this for a long time.
Right.
So we're not putting in any excess amounts of anything that we don't need to.
Right.
But
copper question has
still out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you so much, Dr. Jason. I really, really appreciate your time. It has been amazing. I because I'm a geek, I could do this all day. So I appreciate that you've given up an hour of your day.
I'm a geek too. Yeah, I'm a geek too, in case you can't tell. And I do love talking about this and the great things that Purina has done, and just proud to work with a great group of people that bring the science to the bowl, if you will. So it's just really rewarding. Yes, in a therapeutic sense, to see it as part of a treatment plan for a veterinarian, but for those pets, and thankfully most of them out there are healthy, to bring the science to the healthy dog and as well, and actually make those owners happy. So thank you for the opportunity, Laura. This has been great.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.